Hello again everybody and Happy New Year. I hope you verily enjoyed your Christmas, holiday, New Year festivity period. Can't believe it's 2020. It's the 20s again. Is it going to be roaring? Is it going to be screaming? I guess we'll wait and see. I'm still here in New Zealand at the moment and it's summertime over Christmas and New Year period, so right now please forgive me but I am dying of the heat. Ooh. As you can see, we are back here in this little tiny kitchen. No, this is not going to become a cooking channel. I just happen to be doing two cooking related things one after another. A lot of you have said that you want to see more cooking and like creating and making of things, and I've got so many ideas, I just sort of never get around to them. I really wanted to share this particular recipe with you. I know it's not like a goth thing or even a spooky thing, but it is historical and it is interesting and it is good, and I think more people need to enjoy it. I think it's something that needs to come out of history back into the present because it's so lovely. One of the things you might not know about me is that I'm actually like really into history, especially 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th century Britain and Europe, especially the 17th and 18th centuries, like particularly around the Restoration period, because I've had 2 or 3 writing projects that are like set around that time. The novel, which I keep saying I'm going to finish one of these days, is set kind of like 1690, 1710 kind of period. I'm really big on historical accuracy, so I wanted everything to be as true to life and true to history as possible. And during my research, just about everything I've read regarding the latter half of the 17th century has referenced the Diary of Samuel Pepys, which a lot of you have probably heard of or maybe even read. It's absolutely fascinating. It being constantly referenced, I thought, well, I guess I'll just have to read that, and so I have been, and it is massive. I've been listening to the entire Diary of Samuel Pepys through Audible, which is no small task really, because it is 115 hours long. Every time I would come upon something in the diaries that I wasn't familiar with, I would look it up. And one of the things I heard him mention was a sack posset, and I'm like, what the hell is that? You might have heard of posset before. There is a kind of modern sort of frothy little pudding called posset, but this is nothing like that. I looked it up, and what a sack posset is has changed quite a lot throughout history. It started off as a medicinal thing and ended up as just being this really wonderful, like warm sort of booze custard that you would drink in the evening, or if you had guests over for dinner, that would be the last thing you had before they all went home. It's not like a seasonal thing. It's not for any time of year in particular. It's very nice for the winter, of course. It's extremely warming. It makes you all like warm and sleepy and happy. It's like a nice thing to have in the evenings if you're over 18 or 21, depending on the alcohol laws in your country. So I hunted all over the internet looking for 17th century recipes so that I could try making the thing. I thought I'd have a crack at it and try and make it as accurate as to how it would have tasted at the time. I found a few recipes written at the time, and the ingredients were always more or less the same, but there'd be like different ratios of them. So for example, here's one. To a pottle of cream, put in 18 yolks of eggs and 8 of them whites, a pint of sack, beat your eggs very well, and then mingle them with your sack. Put in 3/4 pound of sugar with wine and eggs, nutmeg grated, and a little beaten cinnamon. Let the basin on the fire with the wine and eggs and let it be hot. Then put in the cream boiling from the fire, pour it on high, but stir it not. Cover it with a dish, and when it is settled, strew on the top a little fine sugar mingled with 3 grains of ambergris and 1 grain of musk, and serve it up. Might be thinking, okay, what is posset and what is sack? What are you talking about? Sack wine is a kind of fortified wine which unfortunately no longer exists, but the closest modern equivalent to sack wine is sherry. So I guess you just want to find the strongest sherry you can if you want to try out this recipe. It's in a similar vein as eggnog, but it's not eggnog. It's to be drunk hot. You should ideally drink it right after you make it. You can let it cool down and have it like the next day chilled or whatever, but it is much nicer to have right away when it's hot, fresh off the stove. It's a little bit fiddly to make, but it doesn't take very long. It only takes maybe like 15-20 minutes from start to finish. It's very easy. To Christmas dinner with Mr. Owl's family this Christmas just been, this is what I contributed to our Christmas dinner. I made this like massive basin full of the sack posset, and it's so filling, and it was just so wonderful to have like after the meal. Just it makes you really just so warm and sleepy and happy, and everybody really liked it. Like it was a total hit, and I've made it a couple of times since, and it's so good every time. It's really nice. I just wanted to share with you this really cool historical recipe. I've figured out, based on other recipes that I found from the 17th century, I've figured out what I think is a good balance that I think tastes very nice, works together well, and I've actually written it on my website, so I'll just link to that below if you want to have a go at making it without just like watching the video over and over again. It's on my website. It's blackfriday.com. Anyway, we're going to make it here in this video. Ideally you want to serve this in teacups if you have them. Posset used to be served in a special little posset cup, which is basically like a little porcelain sippy cup with 2 handles. Teacups is best, or you know, or a coffee mug or something that can handle a hot drink. Let's begin. Let me show you how I have been making my 17th century sack posset. I hope you enjoy it, and like I said, this is only for those of you who are old enough to drink alcohol. I understand that you can swap the sherry for like lemon and orange juice, but I haven't tried that myself. I'll show you exactly how I've been making it, so if you give it a go, let us know how you went and if you really liked it as much as I do. Okay, let's begin. For this you will need ordinary sherry. This creamy tasting one works very nicely. White sugar, cream, ground nutmeg, cinnamon, either ground or whole sticks, and lots of eggs. This yields about half a dozen teacups full, or about 3 coffee mugs. Into a pot pour 400 ml of cream, half a cup of sugar, and a generous sprinkling of nutmeg and cinnamon. The spices will likely sink to the bottom, but the flavours only need to infuse into the cream. Stir. Some recipes called for a blade of mace as well, but mace is quite expensive, so I omitted it. Separate the yolks from the egg whites. I usually do this by tipping the yolk between the shell halves, but there are many other methods for separating yolks. Into a bowl or basin or another pot, put 5 egg yolks and 2 whole eggs, whites included. To the eggs, add at least 300 ml of sherry and whisk until the eggs are beaten. You don't need to beat it quite as much as I've done here, it's gone a bit frothy, which is fine. Boil some water in a pot that will comfortably sit your egg basin atop it. The eggs are heated by sitting atop of hot water, and if exposed to direct heat, the eggs will cook. Yuck. Stir continuously and test the temperature until it's fairly warm but not hot. At the same time, put the cream pot onto the stove over a medium heat and keep stirring this too. Take the basin off the boiling water once it's warm enough. The cream should come off the stove just before it starts to boil. Carefully and slowly pour the cream into the eggs, a little at a time, stirring constantly until all combined. Ladle into teacups or mugs and enjoy. So yeah, it's actually pretty easy and it just tastes so good. I really just wanted to share this with you and bring this little piece of history. Just wanted to try this thing that I'd heard in Samuel Pepys' diary. It turned out to be amazing and I wanted to share it with you. Perfect for Christmas, but it's not a seasonal thing. This is for like any day of the year, any season, anytime, any day of the week, whatever. You can make a small amount just for yourself or for your family or flatmates, or you could make a whole lot for a whole party of people. It's very easy to kind of scale up or down. I figure it's about 2 to 3 egg yolks to 1 white per person that you're making it for. That's sort of how I've figured out the ratio, whether I'm making it for 2 people or 8 people or 20 people or whatever. It's just so pleasant. So if you do give this a go, tell me how it's gone. If you've got any other ideas for stuff that you would like to see me have a crack at making, please suggest it in the comments. I'm really not a good cook and I'm not super enthusiastic about cooking, but I do like to try new things. And one of my goals for 2020 is to improve my cooking skills. Actually, like right after the new year, I was like, right, I'm gonna get better at cooking. I'm gonna try something fancy and something new and something a little bit challenging, and the first thing I did was promptly set the kitchen on fire. Not a wee fire, it was, you know, about this wide but like this high. It was a little bit scary. So yeah, it's been a bit hit and miss so far. Thank you so much for joining me here in this kitchen once again. I have really much enjoyed sharing with you this recipe for sack posset. It's nice to be able to experience even just a wee taste of something from the past, something that you wouldn't otherwise be getting. If you want to impress your friends or your family, like, make them this. It's something they've probably never had before, and it's just so good, and it really is so filling. Like, obviously it's got a lot of protein in it, so really like 1 or 2 teacups full is absolutely all you need. I found that anyway. Like, after that it's like, whoa, it's a nice thing to have in the evening after dinner or before bed. Just warm, sleepy, happy people. Lovely. If you have not already done so, please subscribe to my channel. You know you want to. Come and join us. And as always, take care of yourselves, be nice to each other, stay warm and lovely, and I will see you next time. Bye!